His attention was now drawn to the men on the Superb's yards, as well as to the appearance of the ship, about which he made some observations, and asked several questions, among others, whether she was French or English, what her age was, the number of guns she carried, and the weight of metal on each deck. Going alongside, General Bertrand went up and announced to the admiral that the emperor, for they always gave him that title, was in the boat. He then went up and was received by Sir Henry Hotham on the quarter-deck, where a captain's guard was turned out to him. He was immediately shown into the cabin, and after looking round him, requested to have the officers presented, which was done. When he asked nearly the same questions of each that he had put to those of the Belverfin the day before, he then expressed a wish to go through the ship. He did so, accompanied by several of his own suite, the admiral, Captain Stenhouse, and myself. The men were drawn up at divisions, and everything was in the nicest order. He appeared much pleased with all he saw, and drew many comparisons between French and English ships of war, on going through the wings and storerooms. He said to General Savary, "Our ships are nothing of this sort," who answered, "All the new ones are built at Antwerp, were constructed on this plan." When he returned to the quarter-deck, he questioned the admiral and myself very minutely about the clothing and victualling of the seamen. It was then, on being told that all the department was under the charge of the purser, he said in a facetious way, "Je crois que c'est quelquefois chez vous comme chez nous, le commissaire est un peu coquin." I believe it happens sometimes with you as it does with us, that the purser is a little of a rogue. This was addressed to the admiral and me, with whom he was conversing, and not to the people, as has been represented, nor was there a man that could have understood it, as it was spoken in French and not within their hearing. He asked to see the chaplain, and a few questions to him as to the number of Catholics and foreigners in the ship, and whether any of them spoke French language. A Guernsey man was pointed out to him, but he had no conversation with him. He was then shown into the cabin, where breakfast was prepared, during which meal he talked a good deal, but ate little, the breakfast being served in the English manner. I observed during the whole time of breakfast that Colonel Plenard, who was much attached to him, and of whom Bonaparte always expressed himself in terms of affection, had tears running down his cheeks, and seemed greatly distressed at the situation of his master. And from the opportunities I afterwards had of observing this young man's character, I felt convinced he had a strong personal attachment to Bonaparte. And this, indeed, as far as I could judge, was the case also with all his other attendants, without exception. On rising from the breakfast table, the whole party went into the after cabin, where a discussion took place about Bonaparte's horses and carriages, which had been left at Rochefort, and which he was desirous of having forwarded to England. I had formerly agreed, in the event of their arriving, to receive 2 carriages and 5 or 6 horses, as many as the ship could conveniently stow. But as they had not come, the admiral now consented to give a passport for a vessel to transport the whole of them, consisting of 6 carriages and 45 horses, which was accordingly made out and forwarded to Mr. Philibert, the senior naval officer, at the Isle decks, but I believe it was never acted upon. We all returned to the Belverfin about noon. When the ships present manned their yards, the boat was immediately hoisted in, and the ship got under way in pursuance of orders from the admiral, of which the following is an extract. "You are hereby required and directed to take the Myrmidon under your orders, and putting on board her such persons composing a part of the suite of Napoleon Bonaparte as cannot be conveyed in the Belverfin. You are to put to sea in the HMS under your command, in company with the Myrmidon, and make the best of your way with Napoleon Bonaparte and his suite to Torbay, and there landing the officer of the ship bearing my flag, whom I have charged with a dispatch addressed to the Secretary of the Admiralty, as well as the officer of the ship you command, for the purpose of proceeding express to Plymouth. With the dispatch you will herewith receive, addressed to Admiral Lord Keith, and a copy of these instructions, which you will transmit to his lordship. Await orders from the Lords Commissioner of the Admiralty or his lordship for your further proceedings."